Welcome to Hack the File. I'm Michael Lopez. In today's video, we're going to be talking about social engineering and the art of deception by Kevin Mitnick. Enjoy. So, today we're going to be looking at the art of deception. This is a book written by Kevin Mitnick and William L. Simon. So if you're getting into cybersecurity, you're gonna want to know about social engineering. So social engineering is just a fancy term for trying to con somebody, right? Trying to pull a con on somebody. But in cybersecurity, social engineering is basically any way that a bad actor or an attacker or a hacker, anybody that's trying to do malicious intent on a system or a company, uses the human error factor, and that can be any kind of way. That could be phishing emails. That could be calling up and pretending to be somebody that you're not. And if you looked at my other video, Google hacking, it has to do with reconnaissance, right? So social engineering, you need to do your reconnaissance first. You need to prep for your social engineering hack or how you're going to do it, and then you need to do it right. So Kevin Mitnick, if you don't know who Kevin Mitnick is, Google him. Okay, he's one of the first hackers, quotation marks in the air, that there was, right, back in the 80s. And he started by phone phreaking, is what they called it back in his. I mean, he was saying they called it phone phreaking, and it's when you hacked Pacific Bell or your phone company. And so back in the 80s and 90s, my brother, he used to set up these party lines, and I would see him dialing a bunch of numbers in the phone and doing all kinds of cool stuff. And that's basically what it was. They were hacking the phone company using dial tones and stuff like that. I don't know how he did it. So I just see him doing stuff like that. And then he would get into this party line or start a party line or something. And there would be about 40 different people on that line talking, right? So, and there, that's kind of like what it was. And then, he would, hack long distance, get free long distance. He would, in his book, Ghost in the Wires, which I recommend you guys reading that one, A Ghost in the Wires. That's a great read. He turned his, one of his friends' parents' phones into a payphone, right? So every time they picked up their phone, it would say, please deposit 20 cents or something, So, I mean, things like that. That's how he started, right? And then he went on to just massive social engineering. And if you read his Ghost in the Wires book, which, like I said, I recommend, they're about $15 paperback. Get the digital copies, about $10, I think. He talks about like obtaining directories and SOPs and manuals with like administrative procedures and passwords and all that from Pacific Bell. I don't know. He would like con the people to let him in the building, and he would steal it, or I don't know. I can't remember, but they would throw it out in the trash, and he would just go to their trash and take it out, and and read them, and then he would know who worked there, the hierarchy, their policies and procedures, their jargon, and then he would call up the Pacific Bell, and he would just social engineer them or con them into giving them all kinds of access and entries and information and stuff like that. So the FBI was chasing them for 20 years, and Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, so um, in layman's terms or the criminal terms, how criminals would see this would be the art of deception would be exactly that, the art of deception, right? You walk into Walmart and you notice that when they check tickets, or when that they don't really check the to see if the ticket is a real ticket, or if it's a or your receipt, I'm sorry, if it's a the date on the receipt and all that. um, those are policies and procedures, right? If you've got a whole basket full of stuff, and you're leaving and your thing beeps beep 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 beep, okay, um, then the people come over and they look at your receipt and they make sure you didn't steal anything or something, but they're not looking at that receipt to see if it's an actually real receipt from Walmart, if it's made to look like it. They're not looking to see if it's got the right date on it. Maybe it's an old receipt. Maybe you're repurchasing this stuff twice, or you're stealing it the second time. Is what I'm trying to say. I mean, those are what criminals notice, and this is how criminals get by, right? They steal stuff or whatever, and they're deceiving, the people, right? But that's how you have to think. Like, how do you prevent this? So if I was running that Walmart and I was a manager, I'd be like, if that goes off, make sure you look at that receipt and you make sure it's a real receipt, and then it's got all the big stuff tickets on their items that they have, and that it's the proper date for that day, and then if it's not, then obviously something's fishy going on, right? So that would be your anti-deception, right? And that's what this book is about. So the art of deception is going to um, go over ways that you can use social engineering, right? And then you can it's going to show you how to counter it, and then it's going to show you so this book is actually very interesting because it's going to give you examples, right? So of how to prevent social engineering, and what they're going to give you an example of what it is, and stuff, right? So let's go into it, and let's look at chapter 1, right? And so, security's weakest link. A company may have purchased the best security technologies that money can buy, train their people so well that they lock up their secrets before going home at night, and hired building guards from the best security firm in the business. That company is still totally vulnerable. Individuals may follow every security practice recommended by the experts, slavishly install slavishly, that's a cool word, and so never heard of it. Install every recommended security product and be thoroughly vigilant about proper systems configuration and applying security patches. Those individuals are still completely vulnerable. The human factor. Testifying before Congress not long ago, and now this is Kevin Mitnick, obviously. I explained that I could often get passwords and other pieces of sensitive information from companies by pretending to be someone else and just asking for it. So this is basically he did some reconnaissance, right? If you look at my other video reconnaissance, he looked up like who the supervisor was for whoever the people, right? And they have all that information online if you use Google hacking. Um, and he found out that the receptionist's boss is Amy or something, right, or Diego or whatever. And he gets on there and he pretends to be that person, right? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do, right? So let's go to the next. Um, let's do an example. Let's find an example. So this book gives you an examples, right? Terrorists and deception about this book, and he's just giving you examples. The art of the attacker. When innocuous information isn't. Okay, so this is just cool stuff, but we're gonna skip this one and we're gonna go to maybe like the third engineer trap. Go to the third. So, and then it tells you how to prevent the con. Okay, so we're gonna pick one of these. Okay, so the direct attack, right? Many social engineering attacks are intrinsic, involving a number of steps and elaborate planning, combining a mix of manipulation and technical logical know-how. But I always find it striking that a skillful social engineer can often achieve his goal with simple, straightforward, direct attack. Just asking outright for information may be all that's needed, as you'll see. Now, this is just an example, but it's a made up example. Okay, and MLAC Quickie. I don't know what that means. Want to know someone's unlisted phone number? A social engineer can tell you half a dozen ways. You will find some of them described in other stories in this pages. But probably the simplest scenario is one that uses a single phone call like this one. Number, please. The attacker dialed the private phone company number for MLAC, the Mechanicalized Line Alignment Center. To the woman who answered, he said, "Hey, this is Paul Anthony. I'm a cable splicer. Listen, a terminal box out here got fried in a fire. Cops think some creep tried to burn his own house down for insurance. They got me out here alone trying to rewire this entire 200 pair terminal. I could really use some help right now. What facilities should be working at 6723 South Main?" In other parts of the phone company, the person called would know that reverse lookup information on non published numbers is supposed to be given only to authorized phone company people, when MLAC is supposed to be known only to company employees. And while they've never given out information to the public, why would okay, who would refuse a little help to a company man coping with that heavy duty assignment? She feels sorry for him. She had bad days and jobs herself, and she'll bend the rules a little to help out a fellow employee with the problem. She gives him the cable and pairs and each working number assigned to the address. Analyzing the con. As you'll notice repeatedly in these stories, knowledge of company lingo and of its corporate structure is various. It varies office and departments. What each does and what information each has is part of the essential bag of tricks of the successful social engineer. Mitnick's message. So he has a message in here from himself, right? It's human nature to trust a fellow man, especially when the request meets the test of being reasonable. Social engineers use this knowledge to exploit their victims and achieve their goals. The young man on the run. This is another example. Um, so basically, social engineering is like, let's say I do reconnaissance with Google Hacks, and let's say I'm gonna uh, hack this company or attack this company, right? And I've done all my research. I know, like, okay, I'm gonna give you an example of what I would do. Let's say I know who the boss is, I know who the director is, and you can get all this information from LinkedIn. And a lot of these LinkedIn supervisors or head people at the top will say, "Hey, I'm over here in Idaho Falls in this building, and it's so beautiful, and you know this and that, and you should come check it out or whatever." And you look at their title, and they're the boss of the building. They're posting it on LinkedIn. They have their name, their bio. I mean, you got everything, right? Everybody does, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. What we're saying is social engineers will take that information and use it to their advantage, right? Then they'll maybe go look up, this person's Facebook account and see if everybody can access it, and then if they can get the husband's name. Maybe there's posts of the facility. Maybe there's posts of the receptionist. Maybe there's maybe it's if it's a, so I'm a man. So if it's a man, Maybe there's video of him talking, what he sounds like, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I know where he lives. I know what his position is. He's the boss. Um, let's say I have all the reconnaissance and stuff. I know the receptionist front name. I know, when you the more information you get, the more information you can get for other things, right? So let's say I'm pretending to be the boss. His name is Michael, right, or something. And I call and I say, "Hey, this is Mike. This is Michael. How's it going? Maybe I sound like I got a cold. Hey, this is Michael. How's it going? Hey, this is or but you're gonna start off with, hey, the receptionist's name. Hey, Stephanie, this is Michael. How's it going? I'm sick today. I mean, you might not get lucky. You might get lucky. Maybe, but maybe she just talked to him and he wasn't sick, so she's like, oh, this guy's not sick. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, right? But there's a lot of things that can go bad too. But and hey, how's it going? Can you get me this number? Can you get me my password? Can you get me my administrative password? Or like in this, so there's a lot of things you can do. Or like in this con, or the guy pretends like he's overworked and he's got to do that. Now that he's got to do something. So putting her on a guilt trip, the receptionist. There's a lot of things that these social engineers will do to get the human error factor going, right? And so, I mean, there's also, walking in behind somebody that, so if you got a badged in area that you need a badge to get in, it's called tailgating, or, maybe you can walk right behind somebody. And I've seen people do that. And the people that open the door and let them in, they don't even care. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things social engineering falls under, and it's a very, very, very interesting topic. So, these books, The Art of Deception, The Art of Deception, um, um, let me see some other books. Hold on. Then you got like The Art of Invisibility, you got The Art of Intrusion, and all this stuff is like red team, social engineering, lock picking. That's another thing I would recommend if you're going to get into cybersecurity and you want to get in and you want to get into red team. Learn how to like watch videos on how people open up doors with credit card numbers, with tools, with lock picking and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's very interesting, right? Um, Social engineering is, to me, is just somebody looking in from the outside and noticing a company or people or whoever not doing something right, and then realizing that they could take advantage of them, right? And that can go from people not following procedures, or people just being nice, or procedures not even being in place, right? And you have to remember that criminals don't care about the rules, and they don't care about what you think how they should be, or how the framework should work, or common sense and all that. That goes out the window when a criminal is looking to take advantage of somebody or something, right? Now, I'm gonna give you a little example of how, like, the system, or like, let's say police officers, or um, somebody in authority that you know has procedures set up in place, and they're hoping that everybody's being good and honor code and is not noticing their flaws and taking advantage of them, right? Because that's the way the world is. And the average Joe will walk into a bank and not even notice all these flaws, right? And a criminal will walk into a bank or a company or anything and notice a lot of flaws and go, man, I actually could take advantage of this real quick. And even average people, I would say, can do that too. So they'll, they'll walk into somewhere and they'll do something and they'll be like, man, I can't believe they let me do that. I could have stole half the stuff in here or something, right? But they don't do it because they're good people, right? Or they're, they don't want to get caught, or they don't want to be like that, right? They want to be righteous or have honor, but not everybody has that. So in cybersecurity, social engineering is a very important part of uh, of the framework, or should be a part of the of the framework and the risk assessment, it's risk management and all that, because um, especially if you have a company that where you have sensitive information and you have sensitive equipment, hardware, and all that, and you're going to want to protect that from the human error. From social people, they're going to take advantage of them and their kindness and their maybe not following procedures and stuff. So I would say running a couple of social engineering practices every quarter on different people would be an awesome exercise. Call up your front desk, and her. You're the head of the cyber program, and you say, I want to run some social engineering tests, right? Call them up and see if you can get them to answer some questions, right? And in this book right here, Art of Deception, gives you some ideas, right? And you go through here, and it gives you like, he analyzes the con, and see, he calls it a con because it is. It's not, social engineering and con artists, same thing. And he analyzes it and he shows you, how to fix it, right? So you can go through this book and get some ideas and then if your people fail, you can give them ways to fix it. If they do great, then hey, they do great, and then you don't have to worry about it. But social engineering is a big part of, I would say, any cybersecurity program, right? And it's the things that you don't think about, that you don't see, right? And they look normal, but it looks like a normal thing happening, but it's not normal, right? It's You're getting conned and you're getting fooled. So I can give you a little example of little example. So I remember when I was younger, I used to hang around this party crew. And it was a bunch of us together, right? And there'd be about 30 of us. And we weren't criminals or anything. We just like to show up at parks, 30 people, and just party, right? And we'd go to different parties and stuff. Anyways, so we when we would go 30 people in a group, we would always get harassed by the police, because there's too many people, right? So the cops would pull us over and say, "Where the heck are you guys going? Why is there so many of you guys going?" "Well, we're going to a party. We're going here." "Well, put your hands up and let's check your pockets." And they would harass us. So we kind of thought about it, and we're like, how do we, fix this? Because we still like to go to parties, a lot of us. So, and we meet up in parking lots, and there's a lot of us. So, which is a violation of our civil rights in the first place. We have the right to organize. We have the right to, you know, um, do all that stuff. But and we still did. We just got harassed, right? And wasted our time, 30, 40 an hour of them checking everybody. Didn't find anything, but let us go. So we got tired of it, right? But anyway, so then eventually we're like, look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna break up everybody in groups of five. There's gonna be a group of five over here, a group of five over on the other, on the other side of the street, group of five on the other, all the way down for about 3 blocks. So we're all still together. We're just in groups of five. And then so I remember that day when we thought, yeah, let's do that, man. That's smart. And I remember walking in my little group of five, and I remember the police coming down the street and just going down and looking at us, and then looking at the other group and coming down, and then just leaving. And I thought, yeah, that worked. So the moral of the story is that the system, or whoever sets up the rules, they're looking for the bad things, right? The people that are, I guess, whatever they thought was suspicious was a lot of kids walking together, which it could be, right? Who knows? But in our case, it wasn't. But they were looking for certain things. Like when you set up a company, you're looking for certain things. But social engineers are not caring about that. They do, and they care about that, but then they're looking to set you up to where um, you think you're looking at something else, but you're actually looking at the same thing, right? So there was actually 30 of us still hanging out. We were just in groups of five, spread half a block on each side of the street. And so they weren't looking for something like that. They didn't think like, oh, they'd be smart enough to do that. And that's the whole part of social engineering is that um, they're counting on you not to think like that. They're counting on you not to think like they would think. Like, what would I do? And I'm sure it was the same police because it was the same neighborhood. They just, they might have pulled away and went, "Hey, Jack, what's going on? Hey, I think they got us." But you never know. But they didn't do it that day, so they might have caught on eventually. But after a while, it's too late, right? In our case, it was innocent, but social engineers or con artists or hackers and all that are devious, and that's what they're doing. So the one thing that you're looking for that's devious, they're not doing, and the one thing you're looking for that's innocent, they are doing. But in the background, they're planning on exploiting and getting data and all that. So it's a um, fascinating topic, social engineering. And if you go deeper into the intellect of it, right? Because Kevin Mitnick, he wasn't a stupid person. He's brilliant. He's got a cybersecurity company. I think he worked for the FBI after they caught him after worked for him for 5 years. So the intellect that goes into the thinking you know of the con artist is something that not a lot of people can do, and they can't even fathom. And I'm talking about it now. And in that little story I told about the groups of five, it probably went over a lot of people's heads, right? Because you're not understanding what I'm talking about, right? And so it goes into deep uh, criminal mind and activity, right? Because con artists are criminals. Okay, so let's not. And they might not be violent criminals, but so a lot of people, when they hear the word criminal, they think violent. You know, hey, criminal, and they think somebody with the bandana on their mouth and gun in their hand that's sticking up the bank or something. That's not all criminals. So a criminal can be a con artist that's stealing information illegally, but he's doing it by social engineering. A criminal can be somebody that does that, and it's like white collar crime, but it's still a crime, so it's a criminal, right? And con artists are doing the same thing. They're conning you into giving them information, and then they're doing illegal things, or they're making you do things that you shouldn't be doing by tricking you, right? And by conning you. So yeah, it's really fascinating. And these books, if you read them, they'll open your mind a little bit. And then when you go places, you'll notice people doing things, and you'll be like, why are they doing that? And see, and that's why I got into cybersecurity, because then I can help them, right? If I work for a company and I am used to noticing like these things, these flaws in the system, I can say, hey, look, man, this is how they can get you. Okay, do not. You need to stop doing this. We need to do something else. Set up some protocols. Change the framework a little bit or something like that. So I mean, it's just fascinating and it's awesome, right? To be able to see the flaws that the people, that bad actors will take advantage of, and then fix them. And then hopefully make the world a better place for your children to live in, or whatever, whatnot. So, all right, that's it. That's all I gotta say about social engineering. Pick up these books. These books are fascinating read. Kevin Mitnick is a very cool person, and if you look at all his Google him, look at his interviews on YouTube, he'll explain his story and how he started the same way about 10 different times in 10 different interviews. So it's awesome. All right, thank you for watching Hack the File, and I'll see you next time. Have fun.